I'm saying, the wood is sliced.
Sign in. Sign in.
Amazing.
Give me a dollar.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I don't know that I just find here. Oh, the one year when we did get the ceiling done, we got tons of furniture crammed in there. Because the painter says, you can put that in the center, all we need is open.
In the stairwell?
Oh,
Trying to
yeah,
get out?
wallpaper from
Sure.
the whole house.
Been savings called the letters on the wallpaper?
It works.
It's open.
Okay, this is a public hearing for us to consider doing some work at the airport. Okay, the town of Palmyra is considering petitioning the Bureau of Aeronautics for work to be done at the town of Palmyra Airport to design and construct hangars, reimbursement for land acquisitions, update airport layout plan and Exhibit A, design and construct security fence, planning for future airport development, create a stormwater management plan, clear and maintain runway approaches, and conduct a wildlife site visit. Chris can show you where the Les, you want to sign in? You want to show,
They want to start and from the top and
start from the top, right?
You live in a town?
Oh,
yes.
before we get going, are you going to start?
Sure. I can just add, the original notice that was published for this public hearing today included not only the issues that Ed just elaborated on, but they also mentioned advancing town airport funds for the costs involved, pending reimbursement by the Bureau of Aeronautics. That is being amended to remove that language from the public hearing today. That is, the issue of advancing town airport funds for the costs involved pending reimbursement by the Bureau of Aeronautics is not going to be addressed directly, and I think Ed can explain why.
Okay, the reason that it's not going to be addressed is because that isn't how it works. So what we're doing for the projects is using grants provided by the Bureau of Aeronautics through the FAA. I believe it's the FAA that supplies that. And all we have is a sponsor fee, which is 10% for the federal work and 5% for state work. So what we're looking to do is, the last hangar we built cost us approximately $500,000. Of that, we had to pay a $50,000 sponsor fee because that was federal money. The concrete work on for the runway extension and whatever was state work, so we only had to pay 5% of that. So all of these things would be done by the Bureau of Aeronautics or with the Bureau of Aeronautics, and everything there costs money. We have to pay a sponsor fee for anything we do, and we get grants of $150,000 a year. So right now we're 4 years into that. We should be able to do some work next year. So starting with design and construct hangars.
For the hangar, for the future hangars, this will be anything here in the dark orange. That's what the future hangars would be. This part here would be also consideration for a future addition on a current T hangars that we have. So any of this is all future hangar area.
Are you talking individual, privately owned hangars?
Privately owned, or if the town were to put up T hangars, it can also be in any of the dark orange areas or connected onto the current T hangar.
Okay,
To
so
extend that.
in addition to the T hangar that's noted in the AIP, you're talking about more than one additional T hangar?
there would be an addition onto the current one or a new one.
Or one new one?
One new, of,
One new 8
that current
unit-
one's 8 units, so.
One new 8-unit T hangar, okay, or 10 unit, or 12 unit.
Or
Or
6
6
unit,
unit,
Or-
just
yeah.
can't fit 8.
Right, okay, yeah.
right.
One.
But those are the areas that we're talking for the future development.
Okay.
A petition,
We could also
is
put-
good for 6 years.
We could also put
Okay.
private hangars behind the current T hangar if we don't have enough room to hook onto it. And then the T hangar would go more likely than not in this area.
Okay.
More likely than not, I said, those are the proposed areas.
Okay, reimbursement for land acquisitions.
And that's the land that Hawkins donated, and that will be here in the dotted line. That we can get reimbursed the amount, which would help us for future projects.
Do you know what that number is?
I do not.
Do you know how many acres are involved?
80-some, 81.
So it is the full 80-some acres then?
Yes.
Okay,
That we apply for
Okay.
reimbursement funds.
good, thank you.
Design and construct security fence.
That security fence would be at the end of the hangar row here. This black spot is the current standard process building. So it would be here along this road because of the fact that there are vehicles driving through there. So it's not gonna go all the way around the airport, and it's not gonna be a solid fence, but it's not gonna be one you can drive through. So it'd be, say, a staggered, so you could walk through and go to the restaurant or wherever you so choose to walk through it. It's to avoid traffic, which we're having a problem
Motor
with.
vehicle traffic.
Vehicle traffic,
Okay.
correct.
I think that's something that standard process has asked for a long time too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's something that we have talked about for a while
Yeah.
too. We just,
Right.
but we can hook this all in together now
Right, exactly.
with these grants that we're
Sure,
applying for.
sure.
Okay, update the ALP in Exhibit A,
That would-
which has not been updated since, I believe, '08.
I believe that's correct. And that would just be an update of what you're looking at here.
Clear and maintain runway approaches and conduct a wildlife site visit.
And that's on the 6-year plan of things that they suggest that we should be doing at some point in time. You know, which would be in these areas here. You know, all this area here, and then obviously the wildlife will be everywhere. But
So with this being said, we're opening it up to public comment. If you have any, it's gonna be one person at a time, raise your hand and be recognized. And,
Do you want to explain what the fees then? About the 10%, 5%?
I did.
he did.
Okay.
So, and we'll keep it to a 5-minute limit. Anybody got any comment?
Irene Blaskowski. My concern is about a lack of communication regarding the airport, particularly because of the dollar amount involved in the overall airport improvements and operations. As an example, the AIP report, and please correct me if I'm wrong, shows a total of over $3 million in potential projects, but we get little information from the airport commission at a town board meeting on a regular basis. Those are the keywords, the regular basis. There's no list of updated airport commission members and contact information listed anywhere on the town board posting sites. It's still the old version. And I'm requesting to have regular airport financial information in the form of a detailed P&L presented at each monthly town board meeting. And I just have a couple of questions. Why isn't the airport included in the town audit, and are grant assurance obligations considered a liability? Does the airport have an operational budget, and if so, Why hasn't it been published or discussed along with the town budget? If this airport expects to grow as indicated, communications need to be improved as well as fiscal management. And I had previously asked this question of the airport commission as to how many total hangar owners or renters are there and how many of them are village or town residents. So I'm still waiting for a reply, and I know you mentioned in July. But my thoughts are, if we really have our hands on this whole airport, these responses should come off the tips of your fingers, if you really have a good handle on it. It's just my opinion. But, and I know you, where is the money coming from for the sponsor fees? Based on the current 5-year AIP, we're looking at $192,635. And finally, I understand the airport is being maintained by a group of volunteers, and I applaud them all. Considering the plans for airport growth, what is the plan for addressing increased maintenance and management activities?
It's a lot of questions in one.
I know, I'll give you guys a copy. And please enter it in the record.
As to the financial records of the airport, we always have them at the airport commission meetings. And Chris always, I don't know, you give the, yeah, Peggy they read off the balance in our checking account at the town board meetings. Nobody has ever asked for a detailed accounting before, which is not a problem because Chris has it on QuickBooks, same as we do with our stuff. I don't know what the rest of the questions all were.
How many hangar owners did you guys, were you guys able to find anything, that information out
The
from?
problem with finding out that, we can figure out the hangar owners, but some people own more than one hangar and they rent it out, and I'm not sure who the renters are. So I don't know where they're from, and I don't see what difference it makes where the people are from that own hangars or rent hangars. Because it's just like Horse Riders Park. How many people from Palmyra use Horse Riders Park?
Well, I guess for me, and in my perspective, the airport's, Horseman's Park doesn't have $3 million worth of grant assurances that they're on the hook for. And it impacts the community when, you know, you've got folks that don't live in the town, and that doesn't mean everybody's got to live in the town to make a decision about the airport, but some of these decisions are going to impact what happens to the town taxpayers that are basically the owners of the airport. So I guess that's my reasoning for asking why, how many folks are actually from the town or the village that are using the airport.
Okay, the federal money, I talked to the BOA and they sent me the information as best they could find it. This goes back to 1950. And our grant assurances through the feds are $1,982,690.14. The state assurances are $242,974.22. And our sponsor fees, which have nothing to do with the grant obligations now, it's just we had to pay that, is $150,890.78. Now that's not just the last 5 years, that's going back to 1950.
Can I point out that the airport is self-supporting?
The town taxpayers don't pay for that.
Right.
The
This
town
is all,
taxpayers does not
okay,
pay
that
for
was another
anything.
one of your questions. The money that the airport uses is all from hangar fees, hangar rentals.
There's currently 56 private hangars.
Plus AT hangars.
So what you're telling me that at this point then, our income is more than what our expense is?
Yes,
Correct.
but that,
The airport's income.
But there's people from all over. There's one individual that's from Key Largo, Florida, that has a hangar here, so. And he's had it here for a while. Or that's his mailing address anyway.
As long as he sends us some money, I don't care where he's from.
I don't care either, but my point is,
Ditto.
and I don't care either, is that there's people from all over. We had one gentleman from Iowa for a while, he's recently sold, but my point is this, they all pay every year on time. I have no problem with anybody, and I don't have a problem of ever running short on funds. And when I worked with Don before he passed away, there's never been a, so from my start to current, I've never known there to be a problem with funds, where the town has ever been asked for any kind of money to support this airport.
Right. The airport has always been self-sufficient, as
Correct.
long as far back as I go back. And the airport is audited with the town audit, and it always has been, right, Peggy?
And we do, to answer your budget, I do have a budget that I do make out every year,
Yeah.
that Peggy does present at their time, their town budget,
Budget hearing.
correct?
No,
So you don't bring that separate?
you presented it.
I present, okay, I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
And
I do have a
Yeah,
budget.
my name is David Linton, I'm from Whitewater, I'm a pilot and a hangar owner here. Just wanted to point out there is an additional factor that doesn't even appear on the books for the airport, but in addition to the hangar lease that all of us hangar owners pay, we are also paying taxes to the town, to the village for that, and so that is, that's an additional income stream to the area that we're not seeing a benefit for. We don't get garbage collection, we don't have schools, we don't, all of that stuff, but we're paying it. It's part of the whole deal of owning the place on it, so that's an additional stream. Also, another part is that there's an agreement between the Palmyra Flying Club and the Airport Commission that we are paying up to $3,000 a year for runway maintenance.
Seed fertilizer.
Right. But I also had another question on the fencing. Is there a provision for vehicle gate? I have reason to be able to, need to be able to haul some heavy things out to a hangar or two and back. It would be very difficult to carry chunks of engines through a walk-in gate if I'm working.
Well, I think you're still gonna be able to drive on it. This is just to keep you from driving out that side down there.
Oh, okay.
boundary fence.
It's just gonna be down,
From Burgle's
like I say,
place
from Bill
down.
Barkle's house,
Yeah.
but actually about a little further out, where the last house was up to the end where it's paved goes.
All right.
So I'm gonna say,
You'll still be
for
able to.
lack of a
drive
better
up
word,
to
I'm
your
just gonna say
hangar.
standard process, that area there, where everybody's driving through.
Yep, all right.
Now, that's not set in stone or anything, but that, we wanna put something up in that area to keep vehicles from driving through there.
All right, yeah, I can see that. I've seen some itinerant vehicles through that had no business with the airport, and
Correct.
so I can see the issue.
Also, Chris has a list,
Am I correct in what I heard, that there's a separate set of books for the airport from the town?
Yes.
All right. I requested to see those financial statements and operating statements when Don Hagan was alive. I'm still waiting. So now it's you. I'm asking you now, I'd like to see those, because I've never seen them. And if they're audited, that's fine.
Which they are.
Well, then I'm making that request. And that should be presented at the meetings.
they
I
are,
shouldn't have to make a separate request for it and pay for it.
they are at the commission meetings.
I've never heard about it, and I usually go to them. I did not know they were available.
It's always on their agenda.
All you had to do was ask.
I didn't know it was
You're
available.
asking,
Now I'm asking.
if you're at the next commission meeting, we'll have a copy of it for you.
Okay, I think that'd be good.
Bonnie?
Just clarification, something that Chris mentioned, or this gentleman brought to light. So when we launched the airport from the township to the village, we lost that tax,
You lost that tax
property
revenue.
tax.
Not yet.
Well,
Because for 5 years, we get that.
But then
personal
after that, we
property
lose
tax.
it.
But after that, the village gets
So
it.
everyone who supported the village getting it, supported us losing that tax money. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Donna?
I just wanted to request, sort of tagged on to what Jim said. Could that airport, either a detailed P&L or something more detailed, could that treasurer's report be at the town board meetings so that it happens more frequently? That would be my request. I have,
Every month, I do report on how much the balance is.
I know, but I guess what I'm asking for is the same type of report that you do for the town.
You mean checks written?
Yeah, just
I
the
do them every
detail.
quarter.
Big
I
pardon?
do them every quarter,
Okay,
because that's when we have our commission meetings.
okay, so you don't do any kind of accounting prior?
I give a statement every quarter at our meeting.
Okay. The other question I have is, how do projects get on the AIP 5-year report?
Are you talking the 6-year plan?
Well, this says 5-year plan. This is, this
Okay.
project listing is a snapshot of BOA's 5-year program.
When we have our yearly meeting in Madison with the BOA, that's where most of the stuff gets discussed, of what gets put on and what order it should get done in.
So I guess I would request that some of that discussion take place prior to those meetings with the electorate. Because I'm looking through, this is the one for June, and I'm looking through here. I know you're not talking about getting approval of all these projects, but here's the the T-hanger project is in here, but also is pave a runway. I thought that had been discussed by the town board and had been rejected, but here it is.
It
So I'd like to
can
know-
stay on the 6-year plan. That doesn't mean it's gonna get done.
The problem is if you don't have something on there, they don't like to see a void spot. Also, if you have something that you'd like to change to put in there, that's fine. And just because it's on there doesn't mean it has to get done. But they want to see something on there.
Dave?
Plus, doesn't the BOA actually have some influence as far as what ends up on that list? Isn't that part of the discussion, is here's
That
kind
is
of
part of
stuff,
our-
and then they
Part of our
kind of say,
discussion
well,
with the
you should
meeting.
actually be considering this or that, or whatever.
The commission will also have suggestions, and we'll take them suggestions to our yearly meeting, and we'll bounce them off.
So perhaps the commission could have an open meeting like this and have a discussion with airport users and with residents and say, this is what we're thinking about, just so there's a little better
You've been at
communication.
enough of our meetings to know that nobody shows up for them.
It doesn't matter. It's the point of trying to communicate.
Mr. Chairman, I object. Anybody says it doesn't matter is wasting our time.
Oh, please.
I just want to clarify something, and I'm not sure if Donna's thinking the same way I am. When I ask for a financial reporting of the airport, same as a town, I'm not asking for a checkbook balance or a bank balance. I'm asking for a statement that tells what's going on.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, I want to make sure it's clear, because there is,
Budget and loss,
pardon?
budget and loss on it.
Yeah, P&L,
The
yeah.
P&L, and I think the reason Chris does it quarterly, just my take on it is because unlike the town, Chris doesn't write that many checks. There's not that much that happens every month.
No, but we also only hold quarterly meetings.
Right.
Right.
But there's just not that much activity. It's like,
But that's for the commission, you hold
Yeah.
quarterly meetings, but you do have a airport report on the agenda for the monthly
P&L
board meeting
for the quarter P&L.
for the town, well, I'm talking about the
The
town.
board
board.
meeting,
Oh,
but
the
that's-
town, okay.
That's not a monetary significance. That is just for what's going on at the airport.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, it
Well,
wasn't
that's
clear.
what it's always been. Even when Don was doing it, it was the same thing.
My requests have nothing to do with whether anybody's doing anything right
No,
or
I
wrong.
understand that.
It's only a question I'd like to be more informed.
Just more
Yeah,
information,
exactly,
yeah.
that's all we're
And
asking.
that's why I'm asking for some kind of opportunity for input and learning on the part of residents, if for no other reason, to learn what you're thinking about for the airport. Is there a comprehensive growth plan out there for the airport, aside from a project list?
No, not a big plan like the village has. This is just a little airport. We don't have accountants for watching every penny and all that stuff.
Well, that's not what I'm asking about.
Making things complicated.
I'm just looking for some type of future planning so that we as residents can say, this is a direction that this airport commission wants to go. We normally don't hear about it until it's either at this type of meeting or after the fact. And I'm just looking for the ability to be able to have input or learn about what you're doing and why.
I believe that what you're asking for is basically what you're holding in your hands, your 6-year plan. That's what the plan.
Well, I agree.
Right.
But the point is, it stuff's on here. I'm questioning, how did it get on here? Why is it on here? Why is pave the runway on here? You're telling me it doesn't matter whether it's pave the runway or something else. So it must be like a placeholder. But so those are the things we need to understand, because I print this off and I look at this and I go, yo mama, we've got $1.1 million for a paved runway. No.
Well, a lot of that gets changed when we go to our annual meeting at the Bureau of Aeronautics. And something that people have to understand is this airport is controlled by the state and federal government more than it is by just airport commissioners. It's an obligated airport. We have a lot of responsibility to the folks in Washington, D.C., as well as those ones in Madison. And at our meetings in Madison, there can be new programs that those people are coming up with. And there can be different things that the federal government comes up with. So that's what's kind of talked about at those meetings. And then we see what money we can get from them or how our things are going to happen. And then sometimes it gets changed.
The crosswind runway was on a
almost
6-year
yearly,
plan for 12 years. It's never going to be appealed.
Taken off of there and then stuff is added, but we can do something at our meeting and it might get changed when we get to Madison.
So perhaps when you get back from your annual meeting, to give an information report of.
And we haven't had a meeting since our meeting at Madison, so.
Are the annual meetings always the same time with the BOA?
They're
Pretty
middle of
much,
April every year, yeah.
When was that? When's the date on there, Danny?
4/24.
Thank you.
The state and federal government really control the airport as much as the airport commission, for sure. They have their goals and ideas too as to what they want to do with the entire system throughout the country.
Okay, to address what you were saying, Donna, that's one of the reasons we're doing this. We want to build a new T hangar. How many people do you have on your list?
I don't know, 6 or 8, 10, maybe something like that.
And we've turned down people building private hangars because we don't know what the situation is with the village yet for building permits.
That's what I was gonna say. Part of this too is because of the village annexing us and what we have to do to have the correct paperwork to build private hangars. So like where are we here? The storm sewer management plan. That has to be done regardless of we build a hangar or you want to build a hangar or you want to build a hangar. So we're going to have the whole airport done. That's part of the plan. And we have it done once and we're done. That's what we're hoping.
And we're hoping that whoever we have do it agrees with what MSA said.
I just want to clarify something that I thought I understood. The airport, the legal owner is who?
The town.
The town. But it still operates separate from the other town books?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so it's operating as what, a division? Or what?
A separate entity.
It's a separate entity, and the major stockholder is the town?
The funds that are generated by the airport have to stay with the airport. And I've gotten that from the BOA, I've gotten that from the Towns Association. That's, the funds generated by the airport have to stay with the airport.
Which is still the town.
It's owned by the town, but there's no taxpayer money being used in the airport.
I understand that.
In fact, we still get money for another 2 years from the personal property tax. The town got that money from the airport. Now we're gonna lose that as soon as the 5 years window is up after the annexation.
So there's still an obligation by the town for all this money for all this building that's gone on in the past, correct?
The obligation only happens if the airport closes.
I understand that. If it closes, who's obligated for that money? It's the town, correct?
Elmira, yeah,
All right.
yeah. And that's gone on since 1950.
I'm not questioning it. I just want to make sure I have my facts right.
Does anybody else have any comments?
I just have one more question or comment. I guess, what, I totally get the fact that you want to grow the airport, you want to make improvements. Do you believe, or will there possibly come a time where the airport has grown enough, or, it has reached a saturation point, where you don't need the grant assurances, or I guess?
The grant assurances stay with the airport forever, for land.
But I mean projects, I'm talking about projects, I
They're
guess.
20 years, and then you're no longer obligated for them.
You're talking about ongoing?
Yeah, ongoing projects, I mean, for continual growth, I mean, is there going to be a point where, okay, I mean, you don't want to be having a General Mitchell Field here in Palmyra, is what I'm saying.
Well, we had that land donated to us that we could possibly use in the future. We don't need it right now. Who's to say what's gonna happen in 30 years? Who's to say what's gonna happen with the village with the school closing? There's all kinds of different variables that we don't know now. We're a small airport, but we're a large, small airport. And having 80 base planes here puts us in a higher category than a lot of airports.
64.
Pardon?
I thought that number was 64.
That's the hangars.
Oh.
Some have
Hangars
two.
are 56.
And the T hangars, plus the T
Eight
hangars.
hangars.
How many actual flyable airplanes are housed here? Do you know that? You must know that.
There is about, it changes all the time. Right now, there's about 80 on the books, roughly. But that changes.
And they're all operational and they come and
I can't
go.
tell you what your operational on. Rick Martins has one, I believe, that he was building.
Oh, so then that really wouldn't count as far as that
David Dunn had
activity
one that
level.
he was building for a while, now it's flying. So I can't tell you how many there. I don't know that.
Bonnie?
I can tell you just the base aircraft, right now is about 80.
When I went to one of the airport meetings, one of the gentlemen who was present, didn't live here, but he said that this airport is like one of the best land runways in the state. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he said that it's very difficult to find hangars and there's a big demand. And so I could see potential for growth, but it looks like you have a huge area there for your potential growth that you've got room to grow yet. It's not like we're gonna run out of room anytime in our lifetime, so I don't think it's something that.
These hangars aren't cheap.
No, what are they, about 40,000?
About 40,000.
Yeah.
David?
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to say was I wanted to commend you guys for being proactive as far as building more T hangars to generate a continued revenue stream going forward, that, the airport can remain self-sufficient by building town-owned T hangars so that you can have income going into the future. I think that's a good expenditure, it really is.
And it's not just building the T hangar, it's also allowing people to privately build that we lease the land to.
Yeah, yeah.
This is really the basis for why I was asking if there was a comprehensive growth plan for the airport, because of these issues now, to have to make up for the tax money that'll be lost in 5 years, to make up for additional maintenance costs. You've got a full crew of volunteers. What happens if, you need to hire someone after a while? Or what happens if you have so much activity that you have to become a monitored airport?
Well, rent, the leases for the land, that amount can be raised, that the hangars are on, and it has been raised. The airport really is a jewel. It's owned, when I flew to other states and stuff and talked to people at other airports, I explained to them that I flew out of an airport that was owned by taxpayers and completely supported by the people who flew out of it. And it's possibly the only one in the country, other than somebody who has their own private airport on their property. Anybody else? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. There will be a special town board meeting held immediately after this. Or no, first we're gonna have a special town meeting to vote. So the town electors that are present can vote yea or nay for us to do this, to ask the DOA to get our entitlements.
And it's done.
You didn't take
I have bubbles from the wedding.
Oh, Kathy. Did you take one?
Open to the rest of, open to the rest of it.
I'm gonna start over here now.
Babe.
I'm gonna decide what bag Walmart or Walmart.
You don't discriminate.
Yeah. Yeah, it was either that or Walmart.
Yeah.
I lost my balance.
I'm not, I'm in the village.
Oh, trick or treat.
No, one more thing.
Actually, two, but I gotta do one.
Ellen, you wanna call me?
Ellen, my coffee, couple calls.
Thanks.
Have a seat. And there are no more in here.
This one didn't mark theirs.
Well, okay, that's, abstain, I guess. What we gotta,
What?
Keep track of it, but it's an extension.
this is a no. Today was one.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's three of them.
So we've got 11, 3, and 1, so it's 15.
We got it. Okay. And then I'll explain it to Mark, so you can see if, you know, this height, because if I'm upstairs on that number. Okay.
You can call pretty high.
The count is 1 abstained, 3 no, and 11 yes.
So the electorate that decided to show up for this meeting chose to accept the BOA's entitlement program. And now the town board will have to hold a meeting, a special meeting, to petition the Bureau of Aeronautics for the aforementioned work. We also have to have a resolution which we can put on the July agenda. We can do this vote tonight. So the next thing is the town board meeting.
We have to sit there.
We have to do an adjournment.
Yes, I think you could just declare it to be.
Okay, this is, the special meeting of the town electorate is adjourned.